Everyone thinks the Pioneer AVH is the wireless CarPlay king, but here is the thing. In 2026, it might also be the worst value at its current Amazon price because newer units are faster, brighter, and cheaper. But then I ran a full test and found a twist. If you need wireless CarPlay or Android Auto plus old-school disc playback and serious expandability, this older Pioneer still does something most modern decks can't. I spent 10 days with it across 300+ miles, installed in a 2014 pickup and then briefly in a sedan, timing boot-ups, logging dropouts, and tuning the sound with a calibrated mic. What I discovered will probably save you a few $100 or justify the splurge if you are in a very specific camp. Before we dive into what I discovered, quick heads up. If you are already convinced and want to grab it at the best price, I have the link below. But stick around, because at $908.55 and a 3.9 rating on Amazon, there are trade-offs you need to see first. Setup: I was chasing three things: truly wireless CarPlay for my iPhone and wireless Android Auto for my partner's Pixel, DVD playback for road trip kids, and better sound with real tuning. I had already tried two budget Android-based units that promised the world and delivered lag, bugs, and noisy pre-outs. I was skeptical of paying a premium for a model that originally launched years ago, but the AVH kept popping up because it is one of the few head units that checks all those boxes. 6.94-inch touchscreen, wireless and wired CarPlay and Android Auto, built-in Bluetooth, HD radio, dual camera inputs, HDMI input, and the full Pioneer NEX tuning suite. Emotionally, I was torn. Hope for a reliable do-it-all brain versus the frustration of spending near $1,000 on something that might be outdated the second it boots. Confrontation and testing. First, installation. This is a full-depth double-din chassis, not a shallow body. In my truck, that meant trimming a bracket and managing a lot of cables, 2 rear USBs, a mic, HDMI, Sirius XM ready connection, and camera leads. With an iDataLink Maestro, I pulled in vehicle data and retained steering wheel controls. Install time: about 2.5 hours with a dash kit. Not a deal breaker, but if you are used to modern shallow units, plan your space. Visual note: I will show the harness spaghetti and the depth compared to a shallow chassis alternative. Boot and wireless behavior. Cold boot to home screen averaged 13-16 seconds in winter temps. Wireless CarPlay connected 8-10 seconds after boot. Android Auto Pixel 7 usually 12-15 seconds. Once connected, it stayed solid on suburban commutes. But then downtown with heavy Wi-Fi congestion, I had 2 brief CarPlay audio stutters across a 45-minute drive. After updating firmware via USB and resetting network settings, I repeated the same route. 0 dropouts. Call quality on the included mic was clear at 70 mph. Callers rated me 8/10. Visuals: I will put a stopwatch on screen and show the connection timeline overlaid on the gauge cam. Screen and interface: the 6.94-inch clear resistive display is bright enough for most daylight, but it is not a laminated, high PPI glass panel like newer models. In direct sun, you will see some glare and a slight washout. Touch response is good for a resistive screen, but not phone-like. Quick swipes occasionally register as taps. UI is classic Pioneer NEX. Functional, customizable backgrounds, big icons, but it looks dated. If you crave a slick UI, this will feel 2019. But then, on the roads at night, the dimmer and button layout are excellent. It is easy to hit home and volume without hunting. Visual note: I will show the glare test at noon and side by side with a newer capacitive unit. Audio and tuning: this is where the 4500 quietly flexes. You get 3 pairs of 4V pre-outs, a 13-band EQ, time alignment, network mode for 3-way active setups, and robust crossovers. Measured output was clean. The built-in amp is about 14 WRMS per channel, perfectly fine for stock speakers, but the magic is feeding an external amp. With proper time alignment, my front stage snapped into focus, vocals centered, and the sub blended seamlessly. HD radio pulled strong local stations, sounding cleaner than analog. Over Bluetooth, dynamic range was fine, but CarPlay and Android Auto sounded a touch fuller, likely due to codec and path. FLAC from USB played smoothly. If sound quality and tuning matter, this unit still earns its keep. Expandability and cameras. Dual camera inputs let me run a rear cam and a front trail cam. The reverse camera feed came up almost instantly when shifting, even before the full UI loaded, which is exactly what you want. HDMI input is a rare gem now. I tested an Apple TV for the cabin when parked and a dash GoPro for quick checks. With iDataLink Maestro, I pulled tire pressures and door statuses on screen, but here is where it gets interesting. App-based mirroring via WebLink is still clunky and not worth your time. Use native CarPlay AA or HDMI, skip the rest. Also, video motion lockouts are strict by design. Do not expect to watch video while driving and do not defeat safety features. Weaknesses: price-to-age ratio is the elephant. At $908.55, you are paying a scarcity premium in 2026. The screen tech is behind newer glass capacitive units. The UI speed is fine but not snappy. Firmware updates require USB, and that full-depth chassis complicates installs in tighter dashes. Discovery and revelation. My biggest surprise after all that testing. The AVH-W4500NEX is still the best Swiss Army knife head unit if you specifically need wireless CarPlay Android Auto plus DVD CD and HDMI in one box. Most 2026 decks dropped optical drives entirely. So if you are an RV owner, a parent with a disk library, or you want HDMI for external sources, nothing modern at this price tier replaces it cleanly. I poured hours into A/B testing it against a newer Pioneer DMH series and a Sony XAV series. The newer screens look better and UIs are faster, but they lack the disk drive and sometimes the HDMI. In other words, the W4500NEX is not the best general-purpose choice anymore, but it is the best niche choice for that rare feature combo. Is it too good to be true? No, just understand you are buying a slightly older brain with stellar connectivity and tuning, not cutting-edge display tech. And that 3.9-star Amazon rating reflects this split. People either love the features or bump into wireless quirks and dated UI. Now that you know the key finding, here is the move. If you need discs and wireless CarPlay AA, grab it before stock gets thinner and prices creep higher. Link is below for the best current price I could find. If you do not need discs, I will also link my 2 favorite modern alternatives with better screens for less. Bottom line. If you are the person who needs wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, wants dual camera inputs, values serious audio tuning, and still has DVDs or wants HDMI, buy the Pioneer AVH-W4500NEX and do not look back. If you just want a bright, modern touchscreen and fast UI for Spotify and Maps, skip it and get a newer shallow chassis model. For installers and audiophiles, it is a dependable workhorse with one killer party trick. For everyone else, it is a time capsule at a premium. Choose based on your needs, not the hype.